everyone, and thank you for tuning into our webinar today. My name is Shikhar and I'm the Outreach Officer at IRCC Chandigarh. We are very pleased to announce that as of October 20th, there will be more international students who are exempt from travel restrictions. As Canada looks at ways to safely bring in more international students, we wanted to also give you the opportunity to get updated information and ask your questions. Before we begin, please note that the contents of this webinar are valid only as of today. For the most current information on IRCC processes and travel restrictions to Canada, please visit our website, which is www.canada.ca/immigration. Some of the information from today's presentation may be the same as our previous webinars. We are hoping that some new people may have joined the webinar today to further understand the benefits of choosing to study in Canada. So now let's begin. We know that international students make significant cultural and social contributions to Canada. Since the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, IRCC has implemented a number of temporary policy measures to support and reassure international students about the study permit process. Today we will tell you what those measures are by covering topics such as exemptions on those travel restrictions, processing changes due to COVID-19, a two-step review process, authorized leave during studies, impact on the postgraduate work permit or the PGWP program, as well as the recently announced DLI list. We will also cover important points such as who can represent you in your immigration application and what you need to know before traveling to Canada. We will end the presentation with a Q&A session. As Anandita mentioned before, please only use the Q&A box to post us your questions and we will review them after the presentation. For those of you who are considering to study in Canada, we want you to know what Canada has to offer should you choose to study at a Canadian institution. So why choose Canada? Number one, many Canadian universities are highly ranked in reputed international standings. Canadian colleges and university diplomas are recognized around the world, and the Canadian education system encourages cross-disciplinary studies to develop transferable skills such as critical thinking, teamwork, and communications. Second, Canada is affordable and boasts a great quality of life with a low cost of living. For example, housing, transportation, tuition in Canada is lower than many other countries including the US, France, and the UK. Canada is also one of the safest countries in the world with a very low crime rate. Canada is one of the most ethnically and linguistically diverse countries in the world, with over 50% of the population not speaking English as their first language. Last but not the least, if you would like to look at living in Canada after your studies, IRCC offers a postgraduate work permit to students who have obtained a diploma from a post-secondary school in Canada and are looking to gain work experience. This is an excellent way to continue to live in Canada while diversifying and developing your professional skills. Now that you're seriously looking at choosing Canada to study or have already done so, you need to understand that currently many people cannot travel to Canada. However, nationally, we are seeing positive changes from actions put in place to stop the spread of COVID-19. We are taking precautions just like India by ensuring there is more physical distancing, mandatory mask wearing, and promoting good hygiene practices. Canada is working to slow the spread of new cases by cautiously starting to allow more people to enter Canada. So this brings us to the new announcement as of October 20th. Canada is now allowing students to enter into the country who are destined to designated learning institutes, also known as DLIs, which have an approved COVID-19 readiness plan, which is approved by the provincial or territorial governments. As a part of the DLI's approved readiness plan, they are expected to provide, number one, information to international students on health and travel requirements before they arrive in Canada. Number two, they are supposed to help students with their quarantine plans and provide guidance or assistance in acquiring the necessities of life, such as food and medication during their quarantine. And third, have a readiness plan to establish protocols for the health of students in the event there are suspected or confirmed COVID-19 cases at the school. The list of DLIs with an approved COVID-19 readiness plan is now posted on IRCC's web page for international students affected by COVID-19 restrictions and is updated regularly as provinces and territories identify additional schools. The change to travel restrictions affects all international students regardless of where they are traveling from or when their study permit was approved. Travelers should not make any travel plans until they have met all requirements and received all necessary authorizations. With the amended travel restrictions, immediate family members may be able to accompany an international student to Canada if the reason for travel is non-optional or non-discretionary, such as getting established in Canada in support of their student study program. This could include a spouse or common law partner or a dependent. Accompanying family members of a student do require a letter of authorization to travel and must obtain that by writing to the IRCC COVID-19 exemption mailbox, which you can see on your screen. When writing to this mailbox, the applicant must explain why they feel they are exempted from travel restrictions. Through this slide, we want you to be clear that students who were approved before or after March 18th will now be allowed to travel to Canada, provided their DLI is on the list of schools with an approved COVID readiness plan. In such a case, their travel is considered essential. Please note that the March 18th important date was only applicable prior to October 20th, but is no longer relevant. If your study permit is to attend a school which is not listed on the DLI approved list, your visa will be deactivated. This means that you cannot travel to Canada at this time, as you will receive a no boarding message from the airline. We are aware of many service disruptions that are causing delays in the processing of your application. All applications received between now and January 31st, 2021 must be submitted online. This allows us to continually process applications across our network through work sharing of this caseload until operations normalize. We know that panel physicians are operating with less capacity. This means that it may take longer for you to obtain an appointment to complete your immigration medical exam. We also know that some businesses and schools remain closed or are operating at limited capacity. This means that it may take longer for you to obtain the supporting documents you need for your application. All of that being said, please be assured that we will not refuse any applications for non-compliance or failure to submit the requested documents at this time. This means you do not have to worry about the deadline specified in the request letters sent to you. However, note that we will not be able to complete the processing of your application until all required and requested documents have been received. So it is in your favor to submit these documents to us as soon as possible. On the IRCC website, we normally publish processing times for each of our missions for all of our lines of business. As we are prioritizing applications for people who are exempt from the travel restrictions, these processing times are no longer accurate. We are gradually bringing back many of our staff while adhering to physical distancing within the office. That being said, please continue to expect delays in responding to inquiries and uploading documents to your application manually. If you need to update your application or submit a document, please use your MyCIC account to send us this information. This will automatically upload your documents and information to your application without any delay. Additionally, to increase efficiency, please only send one inquiry and wait for a response. Sending the same inquiry multiple times uses up more of our already limited resources, which could instead be used to process more cases. So we know that at this time VACs remain closed. This means that there is no mechanism to submit biometrics at this time. Currently, we have started a two-way courier service within India only. We know that people are very anxious to obtain their visas. However, if you send us your passport when it has not been requested, it will be returned to you unprocessed at your own cost. Additionally, we may not be able to arrange for the return of your passport immediately, so be prepared for delays. Please do not send requests to us for instructions. IRCC will send instructions to you via the email provided in your application. Additionally, we will also post instructions on our Facebook page and the India WAC website when it is opened up for everyone to submit their passport. We will prioritize processing based on the changes to travel restrictions. Applications destined to DLIs on the approved provinces and territories list will be prioritized for processing and will receive a final decision on their application if all required documents have been submitted. This means that if your application is approved, you will be issued a visa so you can travel to Canada under the exemptions to the current travel restrictions. If your DLI is not on the approved provinces or territories list, we will only finalize application which results in a refusal. If you meet eligibility requirements, your application will not be approved for a visa until travel restrictions are further amended or lifted. We still have cases that are awaiting approval in principle or AIP of their application. If you have decided to defer your studies or if you have switched institutions, please let us know immediately by using your MyCIC account or web form if you don't have an online account set up. The AIP process was only for applications received prior to September 15th, 2020 for programs starting in 2020. For all applications received after September 15th or for any application received at any time for programs starting in 2021 or later, your application will follow the regular process, meaning that you will only find out about approval of your application once all steps are completed. This means that these cases will not receive an AIP letter. Only refusals will be finalized, even if they are missing biometrics and medicals or either one of them. AIP is essentially the eligibility assessment of your application. You can receive an AIP even if you're missing medicals or biometrics. The criteria listed on the screen are the same criteria which will be issued to assess eligibility of applications who do not qualify for the two-stage AIP process. Here are the criteria. First is that you're a genuine student. This means that you have demonstrated the academic and language capability through the submission of your previous academic transcripts and language test results, and that you're able and qualified to complete a program of study in Canada. Number two is that you've been accepted by a DLI in Canada. This means that you've submitted a valid letter of acceptance or an LOA. Third is that you have sufficient funds to pay for your studies, living expenses, and transportation without working in Canada. This means you've submitted financial evidence of liquid funds to cover the first year of school and demonstrated by explanation and proof of how you intend to pay for all of the remaining years of studies. Please note that if your application is refused and you do not complete your biometrics enrollment, you do not need to submit a refund request for your biometrics fee. We will refund these automatically. Please allow for some delay as we continue to work with limited staff. Now this slide reflects the documents which are needed to receive an AIP. The necessary documents to receive the eligibility decision are: number one is to submit a valid letter of acceptance. Number two is to provide IELTS, TOEFL or PTE test results. Please note that no online language test results will be accepted. Third is to show liquid funds to pay for tuition, living expenses and transportation for the first year of school, plus an explanation and evidence of how you intend to pay for all of the remaining subsequent years of school without relying on working in Canada. Number four is to submit your most recent secondary or post-secondary school transcripts. And last but not the least, you need a CAQ for Quebec-bound students. Additionally, we recommend that you submit a statement of purpose. Admissibility assessments will only be made if you pass the eligibility assessment. Otherwise, your application will be refused if you fail eligibility. For this, you must provide biometrics, complete your immigration medical exam, answer all questions truthfully and completely, which includes declaring all previous visa refusals for all countries, providing all of a background history for the last 10 years, and being truthful about any previous arrests and criminal history. Also, you must always remember to submit only authentic documents. Even if you meet all of the eligibility assessment requirements, only students destined to schools on the approved DLI list will be finalized and issued visas. For all other applications where admissibility requirements are met and the student is destined to a school not on the approved list, their application will be on hold until their school is added to the DLI approved list. The travel restrictions are amended to extend to them, or the travel restrictions are lifted. For all applications which do not meet either eligibility or admissibility requirements or both, they will immediately be refused. So you must comply with your study permit conditions if your in-class courses are temporarily moved to an online-only format or suspended completely because of COVID-19. For this, you must stay enrolled in your DLI and participate in your studies online if your DLI offers them. If your DLI closes permanently due to COVID-19, you have 150 days to enroll in a study program at a new DLI, change your status to worker or visitor, or leave Canada. So many of you will now have questions about working in Canada and how the current changes may affect your opportunity to be employed. So why is PGWP important for many students? Work experience provides a better opportunity to gain the language skills and work experience required to apply for permanent resident status in Canada. In addition, Canada has some of the highest salary for workers. Furthermore, persons with Canadian work experience are often able to demonstrate that they have the skills, knowledge, and critical thinking required to do the job. It is worth noting that you can obtain up to a 3-year PGWP. This all depends on the length of your eligible studies. You can also complete more than one program and combine their length towards your PGWP if each program is PGWP eligible and is at least 8 months in length. New measures have been announced with respect to the PGWP. You should know this information prior to entering Canada so you are aware of all the rules. If you're unable to travel to Canada at this time due to travel restrictions, your eligible online studies will count towards your PGWP if you already have a study permit, or you have been approved for a study permit, or you applied for a study permit before beginning your program in either 2020 or winter 2021. For those who applied before September 15th for a 2020 start date, we know that some of you are still awaiting your AIP. We are working hard to process these applications. Please make sure that your applications are complete or it will cause further delays. This may be a bit difficult to understand, so please listen carefully. IRCC wanted to provide maximum flexibility for students to be able to obtain their PGWP if they have genuinely studied at a Canadian institution either in or outside of Canada. If you fall in any of the situations listed above, you can complete up to 100% of your program online while outside of Canada if your program is between 8 and 12 months in length and you started your program of study between May and September 2020. This essentially means that taking an entire one-year program online outside of Canada may qualify the entire program for a PGWP. In addition, you can complete up to 50% of one program online up until April 30, 2021, while outside Canada if you also eventually complete at least 50% of your program in Canada. Furthermore, you can complete up to 50% of 2 programs online up until April 30, 2021, while outside Canada if you graduate from 2 different programs within 2 years of each other, and each program is at least 8 months in length, and at least one of the programs started between May and September 2020, and at least 50% of the combined programs is completed in Canada. This means that you could potentially complete a one-year program outside of Canada and then take another one-year program in Canada, and both programs will give you the maximum allowable time towards your PGWP. So this section applies to students who are already in Canada. Essentially, if a student switched to part-time studies or had to take a break in studies, for example, the spring-summer semester may have been cancelled due to the pandemic, they may still continue to work on and off campus provided that they were previously a full-time student and already authorized to work on or off campus pre-pandemic. For off-campus work, the maximum limit is still 20 hours per week during the academic session and full-time during regular academic breaks. Please note that school closures, part-time studies, or semester cancellations due to COVID-19 do not count as regularly scheduled academic breaks. If you decide to study and work in Canada, you may then decide to make Canada your permanent home. To begin the process of applying for permanent residence, you must submit your profile in the Express Entry online system. This will show you how many comprehensive ranking system points you have based on your education, work experience, language ability, and other factors. On a regular basis, IRCC invites candidates with the most points in the Express Entry pool to apply for permanent residence through one of the federal economic immigration programs. Having a plan to quarantine is a very important piece of advice to travel restrictions being relaxed for international students. Please make sure that you follow your quarantine plan. Not doing so could end up costing you or others COVID-19, as well as imprisonment, removal from Canada, and a fine of up to 750,000 Canadian dollars. Through this slide, we want to inform you of various fraud activities and misinformations related to immigration application. We very strongly advise you to scan the QR code on the screen for more information while I speak. First, it is very important to protect yourself. We always say that if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. You should never share your personal information with unauthorized strangers. Second, are fraudulent websites and scams. Websites may claim to be from the official Government of Canada website. They do this to trick people into paying money to them. Please be careful. Third are email scams. IRCC will never send you an email from a private address, for example, Hotmail or Gmail. IRCC addresses always end in .ca or canada.ca. Fourth are telephone scams. Please note that IRCC will never ask you for any sort of payment by telephone. Then there are unauthorized agents. Please note that you do not have to use a consultant to submit an application. However, if you choose to use one, please ensure that your representative is legally authorized to represent you. You can do this by visiting www.canada.ca/immigration-representative. Examples of authorized agents includes members of law societies in Canada, members of Chambre de Notaire in Quebec, and members of ICCRC, which is a regulatory body for immigration consultants in Canada. An authorized representative can provide you with valuable tips and avoid paying too much money for an immigration service, as well as what you can expect. Any paid representative must be authorized. Unpaid representatives could be family members or a trusted friend. On this slide, you can see the many ways to connect with us. We have the IRCC website and the links to our social media handles. For the Facebook, we have Canada and Bhutan. Similarly, for Twitter, we have the Canada and Bhutan social media channel. You can also find the link to our YouTube channel on the page. Further on this page, you can find the links to our Facebook and Twitter channels for Canada and Nepal. So this brings us to the end of the presentation.